had that feeling. I mean, my consciousness really feels like it's inside me. I never really felt over there. Maybe in a dream floating around or something. I don't know. Maybe. But, yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, I feel like I'm behind my eyeballs. So, I feel like I'm behind them. I'm not in front of them. But whatever. I guess it doesn't matter. That can just, we can agree to disagree on where our consciousness exists. I certainly think the illusion of it is certainly in our brain. That's where the projector is of the consciousness. The projector isn't out there, over there, or any of those other places. It's inside our heads. And the projector is made out of something. I just don't buy this argument that that there's some sort of build out, and all of a sudden you get about build out and then zing, it's consciousness. I think consciousness does start off on incremental. There's a first nerve, there's a first ouch. Okay, somewhere in our history there was a first ouch, where an organism had enough of a brain to go ouch, to have that sense of ouchiness. And now the evolution had something to work with, because now it had this ability to create the illusion of a representation of what something was, good or bad. Now our brain could label things good or bad in a very rudimentary way, and our brain could analyze good or bad situations, and it could put more than one good or bad it could analyze different circumstances that had components of good and bad, like it was warm, but it smelled good, it doesn't look good. I mean, all our senses could be involved in that, sending a signal of ouchiness, and we could make a determination about what the response should be to that circumstance, and then we could do it in a very individual way by having this learning machine attached to this whole process. So that makes more sense to me anyway. Also, you sort of were pointing out that the colony thing, and the colony thing doesn't really work for a human being. I mean, we're an organism, and the DNA isn't individual cell DNA. The DNA is full organism DNA. It makes organisms. It doesn't make individual cells. It doesn't blueprint. Of course, it has the blueprint for the individual cells, but I'm just saying it has the blueprint for the whole organism, where many organisms that live in colonies, it's all individual DNA, and the colony structure is held together very simply. And so it's very different. Like ants, the DNA differences is the queen's DNA is the ball game. That's it. She's the colony, and our DNA is the colony. I mean, each cell has the DNA for the whole organism, and that's what's evolving, is the organism's DNA, not the individual cellular DNA. All right. So, and then the bottom line is, when we get through all this stuff, is again, the end game. What's worth something here? And we know the value of intelligence is that intelligence enables us to do something about this pain and pleasure thing. It gives us an ability to try to maximize that equation. But other than that, it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, there's no fun in doing mathematical equations unless you can get your name in the newspaper or something, right? You know what I mean? There has to be some sort of ego thing in it for people to be bothered. They're not doing it for the sake of the raw pleasure of it. Not really. Come on, if we really look at it. And you really can't separate intelligence from having that mission. It needs something to fix. That's what intelligence does. It fixes things. And what it's doing for us is it's fixing this scenario. It's obviously intended. It's designed by nature to make us more survivable, to fix the equation of our survivability. And now we can do whatever we want with it, in the sense that it's gotten so abstract that we can model the whole game. We're not stuck inside the maze. We now can see the maze. And what I'm arguing is that when we look at this maze, there's no outside the maze. There's nothing outside the desire maze. There's just black space. There's just a cliff you fall off of. There's nothing for intelligence to do but fix the maze game, fix the cheese chasing game. There's no pyramids to build, no cathedrals, there's nothing, absolutely nothing for intelligence to do in this game but to manage the rats chasing their fucking delusionary cheese, their illusionary cheese. I want game. Maximizing that. I mean, that's what I think perfect intelligence is going to realize, is that there's an equation here of expense to gain, a cost effectiveness equation. And so yeah, let's get the maximum pleasure for the minimum amount of suffering. That would be the logic here. But if intelligence starts looking at the whole maze game, not just saying, okay, we're stuck with it, let's engineer it, but no, let's question the maze itself. The maze itself is shit. It's a stupid game. It's all built on a delusion of value, a completely made up scenario. There's no need behind any of the need. If life didn't exist on planet Earth, the universe would not be weeping. There would be no harm. The gain is not perfect, not even close to perfect enough. Pristine. There isn't a pristine perfection to it that would make it possible for you to say the universe could be would be lesser off, would be harmed in some way, to be diminished of its presence, that there would be some brokenness in the value equation, because we're just bugs chasing. We're just horny little beasties, and it almost sounds like you're saying no, we're something more than that. And that's where I'm curious how you contrive this something more. And again, it goes back sort of to the argument that we have somewhere to evolve to. No, like I made the argument in the other video, maybe you should deal with it. The housefly is where the DNA wants to go. The DNA wants to make houseflies. We were a minor little aberration in a small little tribe somewhere in Africa, 100 or 150,000 years ago, where human beings all of a sudden changed, their brain broke, like all the other errors of evolution, and it broke in such a way as, that the orientation changed. Now it could store more information, and now it could have a bigger vocabulary. And that's our only real advantage over the other primates, is that we can do the big language thing, and they can only do the small language thing. And you need the big language to do the abstract thinking thing. I've mentioned it before, but Helen Keller is a really good example of demonstrating that, because it wasn't until she understood it was a language that it all fell into place for her. Her brain was able to be accessed. She had to have enough words, and when she finally had enough words, bango, it happened. There's communication, and now a whole world is opened up. But there's no place for our intelligence to go, really. I mean, this idea that somehow our intelligence is going to go on some trip somewhere, and that somehow we're not even going to bother feeling anymore. I mean, and how could you even be an intelligence? How could you be a really big intelligence if you didn't know what a feeling was? And to know what a feeling was, you really have to have one. You can't describe a feeling. You can't put it into words. You can't conceptualize it. If somebody tried to explain, if you were void of a feeling, of a sense, it'd be very hard for me to explain the sense to you. If you've never had it, how the hell could I explain it to you? Yeah, I just, that just looks like I said, that's just the chasing rainbow golden unicorn crap. Nature's made out of consumption and reproduction. It's a little reproducing machine, okay? And if, like I said, I'll make this argument one more time. I haven't heard a good counter argument. If I made one on my porch, a little machine that reproduces itself imperfectly so it can evolve, and it just goes out into the world and starts grabbing anything, doesn't care, kittens, puppies, doesn't matter, it grabs anything it can grab, rips it to pieces, takes its parts so it can build a copy of itself. If I built such a machine, people would say I was insane, I was crazy, that's ludicrous, why are you doing that? And that's what we're built out of. That's what we're a manifestation of. And if I said, well, no, it's okay, It's only going to rip and tear things apart for 4 billion years, and eventually it's going to get really, really smart, and it'll be able to add 2 plus 2, and it'll be really cool because it'll add 2 plus 2. I mean, it really doesn't glorify, it really doesn't, being able to add 2 plus 2 or write Shakespeare really doesn't justify everything that came before that, what it takes to get there. And that's what this is. And like I said, you'd say My Little Robot, if that's all it accomplished was it wrote a Shakespeare play, you'd say it wasn't worth Gary inventing that little monster, because it only killed a zillion living creatures to accomplish its task of writing a Shakespeare play. You get me? So anyway, enough of a video. Till next time. There's stuff here to work on. I mean, there are some subjects here. It's kind of an interesting first ouch. Anyway, till next time.